Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. College hoops offseason grades rolls on. By now, you know the story. We're in on all these big college hoops programs, what they've done this spring, what it means going forward. These are going to run really until about the middle of July, take us to conference media days in football. We'll ramp up the football coverage. But by now, you already know the drill. We've done a lot of the biggest programs in college basketball. We've done Louisville. We've done Carolina. We've done UConn, Florida, on and on. Today, it is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, a couple quick things before we get started. One, I'm recording this before I go on vacation. As you can tell by the very vacation-y shirt, I'm already on vacation in my mind, but in spirit, I am here recording for you. So listen, I bring it up because there's still a few things kind of fluid with the schedule, so things may change. I don't need you to yell at me, Torres, this game is official. Yeah, I know. We recorded this before we went on vacation. Also worth noting, shout out to John Calipari, because I was not positive if the roster was going to be complete before we went on vacation, but by the middle of June, it appears to be done. Elmir Zvacic and, of course, also Paulo Samado both committed within days before us recording this. So let's go ahead and get into Arkansas. Okay, so Arkansas, listen, I know this is an offseason grade, but we got to talk a little bit about what happened last year. Just a wild 12 months to get us really through, early April 2024 through end of March 2025. It was just a whirlwind. We all know where we were, what we were doing when we heard the news that John Calipari was leaving for Arkansas. And I'll be real, even you go back to that night, I had my thoughts about, is he going to be able to bring the players that he needs to have the success? You go through all these things of what is it going to look like if he goes somewhere else? Well, immediately, you know that Coach Cal is going to bring Coach Cal caliber players. Within a couple weeks, Boogie Flan, Billy Richmond, Carter Knox, 3 top 25 recruits, 2 McDonald's All-Americans committed to Arkansas. DJ Wagner, Big Z, Adu Thero following him. And of course, I think you could argue the most impressive part of Cal's roster build, convincing Trevin Brazil to stay, convincing Jonas Adu, Nelly Davis to join him. And, by the end of middle of June, around this time last year, you had a top 25 roster. Now, in terms of the season, I think you can really go back to the ebbs and flows of the season, kind of resulting from, Coach Cal's decision around this time last year to really focus on that core 9 group of players. Just felt like the first month and a half of the year, 2 months even, you just couldn't catch a break with injuries. I mean, Jonas Adu's banged up to start the year. Then he's starting to get healthy. Trevin Brazil goes down. Nelly Davis is dealing with this wrist injury. And I think you saw it with the results early in the season. Not a lot of continuity. You struggle. You lose to Baylor early. You lose to Illinois on Thanksgiving Day. And then we all know what happened from there, the 0-5 start in SEC play. Now, we don't have to revisit all of it. And I will take ownership of, I was one of those guys that really questioned Coach Cal, that really questioned his motivation. Well, as it turned out, I was wrong, as was everybody, because we all know over the back half of the year, they were one of the best, I would say, top 15, top 20 team in college basketball by the end of the year, right? Boogie Flan does go down with injury, but you have that game at Rupp, and it really builds momentum for the back half of the year where, you beat Missouri, you sweep Texas, you beat Mississippi State on the final day of the regular season. And what I thought was really fun about the back half of the year, you just saw guys game after game after game, a different guy stepping up, a different guy, having a moment. DJ Wagner was great against Mississippi State. Trevin Brazil, who was kind of just lost for a big chunk of the year, was one of the best big men in college basketball by the end of the year. And you could just tell, Coach Cal consistently said, this is one of the closest groups I've ever had. This is one of the most rewarding seasons that he had ever had. He acknowledged at the time. And you fast forward and you look at what they did late February into March. It was vintage Cal. You go to the NCAA tournament. You beat Bill Self in Kansas. You stun Rick Pitino and St. John's in Providence before, the unfortunate result with Texas Tech. So that's what happens. But listen, I'll let everybody else decide what they gauge the first year of the John Calipari. Listen, Sweet 16, you beat Rick Pitino, you beat Bill Self in the NCAA tournament. I deem that a success. But let's go ahead and talk about this offseason, because to me, it has been a fascinating offseason. And I think Coach Cal has checked a lot of boxes, not just in the roster that he has put together, but how he has put it together, okay? So in terms of the offseason, the season ends in that Sweet 16 game. And I remember doing a video the day after. I said, John Calipari in Arkansas, their offseason, as weird as it sounds for a Coach Cal team, will be built on retention. Okay, retention is not a word that you have associated with John Calipari historically, but there were 4 guys that I felt like realistically were very valuable players that could come back, but not necessarily, in this world, you just never know. Now, we'll get into Boogie Flan and we'll get into Adu Thero in a minute. I never believed either of them was going to come back. But the day after the season ended, I said, you got to keep DJ Wagner. You got to keep Billy Richmond. You got to keep Carter Knox. You got to keep Trevin Brazil. Well, fast forward to that day in late April. Producer Matt and I, we did a full show on who was Arkansas going to retain. And then literally within 5 minutes, John Calipari drops that video saying, hey, guess what? DJ's back. Trevin's back. Billy's back. Carter is testing the NBA draft waters. And so let's get into some of those returnees, because with Carter Knox back, you have 4 high caliber players, 4 very good players that are going to be part of this team going forward. Let's look at it. To me, it starts with DJ Wagner. Everybody knows the narrative. Everybody knows the story. I thought this kid took so many unfair arrows on his way out of the last school. And by the end of the year last year, I thought he was one of the best guards in the SEC. I know the year-over-year stats, the season-long totals don't show it. But go back and look. Starting really honestly with that game at Rupp Arena, you fast forward through the end of the year, 24 points in that win over Mississippi State. He was great late in the season. I thought the 3-point shot got better. And now you're talking about him returning as a third-year guard in the SEC. I don't think you can put, just how important that is in this era of college basketball. And I'll say this, I don't think it was 100% certain that he was going to come back. I mean, there were real rumors. There were a lot of, let me put it this way. There were a lot of schools that were trying to get him in the portal. That I will put that delicately and politely. He decides to return to Arkansas. Trevin Brazil decides to come back. Again, if you want to be a casual and look at the season-long stats, okay, he doesn't look like a dude that is going to be an impact player. But this was a guy, as producer Matt, great stat on that screen, you could see, last 9 games, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 4 double-doubles. If my memory serves me correct, what was it? 11 and 12, 12 and 13, something like that against Kansas. Billy Richmond played very well. He actually, in my opinion, exceeded expectations as a freshman. And then the big one, a couple days before the NBA draft deadline, Coach Cal was courtside, I want to say at an Oklahoma City Thunder game. It was Memorial Day Monday. Carter Knox announces that he is returning. Again, if you want to be a casual and look at the 8 points per game, you do that. But in the final 18 games of the year, essentially from, middle of February, early February on, he averaged 10 points per game, almost 44% shooting from 3. And I'll be real, I think he's one of those guys that if he had decided to stay in the NBA draft, I think I don't even think it's a possibility. He gets drafted. I don't know if he goes first round, but now he's coming back. He is going to be, in my opinion, one of the favorites to win the SEC preseason player of the year. So 4 very exciting returnees. I think what's equally as intriguing are the players that are coming into this program and how all the pieces fit together, right? Like, I think at times Cal has been accused of, he's just putting together an all-star team, just trying to put together the most NBA talent. I actually like how all of the pieces fit together in terms of the other players that were brought in and how they fit in with the dudes that are already in the program. So who did they bring in? First of all, those 2 big man transfers. I think this is, by the way, a very interesting development. Coach Cal actually acknowledged it during the course of the spring and the summer of, in this changing world, you go back to the day he took the job at Arkansas. He said, this sport is changing. You can't do it with 5, 6, 7 freshmen. But what has become obvious in the last year or so, He believes that in the front court, he is going to prioritize older players, veteran players, toughness in the portal, something that I just don't think you can get with many 18-year-olds at the college level. So who does he get? Malik Ewan, second leading scorer, leading rebounder at Florida State. What was it? About 14 points per game, 7.5, 8 rebounds per game. One of the best big men in the ACC. Again, yeah, I was exactly right. I didn't even have the stats in front of me. 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, a great offensive rebounder, a great defensive rebounder as well. Remember, you go back to that game, that loss to Texas Tech. What was the problem? The offensive boards, Arkansas got killed. Not enough depth, not enough size, not enough toughness. You address it with Malik Ewan. You address it with Nick Pringle, 9.5 points, 6 rebounds, a veteran in the SEC. And of course, when Arkansas got the commitment, people were like, oh, look at it. He played at South Carolina. You're asking him to be your third big man, first big man off the bench. Everybody take a deep breath. He is a very valuable piece as a 7th, 8th guy, as the first big off the bench. And then, you bring in essentially 6 high school age players. We'll get to all of them in a minute, but the 2 big ones that you need to know are obviously Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff Jr., both of them McDonald's All-Americans, both of them top 20 prospects. I'll be honest, I believe that Darius Acuff should be probably considered the favorite to win SEC preseason freshman of the year. He's that good. We talked about him when he dominated that, was it the Iverson Classic? It was the Iverson Classic, 32 points. I remember talking about it the day after. Then on top of it, you have those 2 guys. But I think what's also worth noting, you brought in 4 other players as well. Isaiah Sealy, Arkansas kid, depth piece, who I think can be very good over the course of the next couple of years. Kareem Ratali, who of course comes over from overseas, originally from Lebanon. And then, as I mentioned, right under the gun in mid-June, the big conversation is Arkansas adding anybody. And they end up adding 2 guys overseas. By the way, it was funny because everybody's monitoring this Russian kid. I'm blanking on his name. Igor Rizov, I believe was his name. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you start to hear about the Bosnian kid, Elmir Zvacic. So the Bosnian big pig invasion is coming to Arkansas. And then, that Friday in mid-June, I was coming back from somewhere, and I turn on my phone. There's an alert. Paulo Samado, 7'1" from Angola. As Instagram told us, we joked about it at the time, but Instagram called him the African Wemby. And so, listen, I love these pieces. And the thing I would hope and I assume is you're bringing in, especially those last 2, but really the last 4, Zvacic, Samado, Isaiah Sealy, and Kareem Ratali. And those players have the understanding that, hey, you're not a star. Hey, you're not going to play 32 minutes a game. But can you be a great practice player? Can you develop over time? By the way, the whole front court, Malik Ewan, Nick Pringle, Trevin Brazil are older guys. A couple of them are out of eligibility. You come here, you work hard, you might have a bigger role next year, but I just like the depth and what it does for practices. So I bring it up because I like all the pieces on this roster. I like the combination of younger guys, veteran guys. I think there's 3 guys that could be first-round picks in the NBA draft next year with Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff, and Carter Knox. Really quickly, by the way, I do want to address one thing. Because when I give the offseason grade, I know some of the critics will say, yeah, Torres, but what about Boogie Fland? Okay, Boogie Fland played Coach Cal. So let's take half a second and address Boogie Fland and Adu Thero, okay? Because those were the 2 guys with eligibility that did not return. Obviously, Nelly Davis graduated. Obviously, Jonas Adu graduated. Both guys were completely out of eligibility, Big Z transfers. But, I think that depending on who you listen to at various points in the offseason, you were led to believe that it was possible that Boogie Fland could come back, possible that Adu Thero could come back. Now, hopefully you were listening to me because I said neither of them was ever going to happen. So because again, this would be a criticism of Arkansas by people that are casuals or don't know. Somebody's going to say, well, what about Boogie Fland? Boogie Fland was never coming back. Okay. The day Boogie Fland committed, the intention was for him to be a one and done. And when you take Darius Acuff and when you take Malik Thomas and when you take DJ Wagner, especially DJ Wagner returning for the 3rd season under Coach Cal, there's no spot for Boogie Fland. Listen, I give Boogie Fland credit. He came back in the NCAA tournament. He didn't have to and came off the bench. He's not coming back to Arkansas to come off the bench. And then the counter to that is if he does, that means you're pushing DJ Wagner to the bench when DJ Wagner was the guy who was starting when you had all your success. And so to me, I keep going back to what I said at that time, because I think a lot of people are like, well, Coach Cal got played. And Coach Cal said that, Boogie wasn't coming back. And it's like, was Boogie supposed to come back to Arkansas and come off the bench? Was Boogie supposed to come back to Arkansas when there are 3 other primary ball handlers already on the team? Or if Boogie's coming back, probably best to go to the place at Florida that's the defending champ and needs a starter at point guard. And I don't think either side was wrong. I don't think it's a bad move for Boogie Fland, and I don't think there was really a spot for him in Arkansas. As far as Adu is concerned, really quick, by the way, we are recording before the NBA draft, so I don't know, this might run after the draft. I don't know where Adu ends up. But just really quickly, what I would say on Adu, again, there was that 2, 3, 4 day window where there was, reports that he could come back. Listen, it was Matt Norlander, CBS, guy that I have a great deal of respect for. But I think Matt said it in passing. I don't think he meant it, as an absolute. And again, I don't think once you take Nick Pringle, once you take Malik Ewan out of the portal, once you bring back Trevin Brazile, that Adu was ever coming back. I said it on the show. I said, listen, it'd be cool. I love watching Adu Thero, but he's a third-year college player. I don't know that you can improve your draft stock that much if you're him. And oh, by the way, you're coming off a major knee injury. You come back, you're not 100%, you don't play well. All you can do is hurt your draft stock. So again, I think that would have been criticism, but I'm sorry. Those guys were never realistically coming back, not with the roster in the way that it was constructed. So with that, really do like the roster. Very quickly, do want to talk about the schedule. That is a component that we've added to these offseason grades pieces. And really quickly, I want to reiterate for the third and final time, we're recording here before I go on vacation. And because of it, a lot of the schedule stuff is still up in the air. There's reports of a game at Michigan State. There's reports of a Baylor home game. There's reports of a Memphis exhibition game, none of which is confirmed as of the time I'm recording. So if that stuff comes out before this actually airs, don't yell at Torres in the comment section. That's just a fact. With that said, though, independent of that, the schedule is still pretty sick, okay? So you look at the big games in the out-of-conference. First of all, the game that everybody is, I am so fired up for, I know that, Thanksgiving night. Remember, Arkansas played against Illinois last year on Thanksgiving Day, highest rated college basketball game of the regular season. It was coming off of that Bears-Lions game on CBS. Well, they're running it back, and they're doing it in primetime. Arkansas versus Duke, Cal versus Duke on Thanksgiving night. So fired up for that one. The Arkansas-Louisville game at Bud Walton Arena was announced just a few days before. We did this as part of the ACC-SEC Challenge. Arkansas gets maybe the favorite in the SEC in Louisville. I think either Duke or Louisville is going to be the ACC favorite. And then really quickly, Houston. Right before Christmas, you're playing Houston in New York City, Barclays Center. Unbelievable. So really quickly, let me just say this. We'll get to the offseason grade in a minute, but I really like this team. And I'll say this. I know Coach Cal likes this team, and I'll tell you why. One thing I know about Coach Cal. Listen, I don't think he puts together this schedule in the manner that he did if he does not believe that this team is really good. Like, just as an example, look, you're going to play in the ACC-SEC Challenge. Duke was scheduled months ago, but you don't have to play Houston. You could go to New York City right before Christmas and play somebody else. The fact that he added Houston, the fact that he very likely is going to add Michigan State on the road, it speaks to me that he really likes this team, and I really like him as well. So let's go ahead and get to my offseason grade. I'll give Arkansas an A-. The only reason I'm not giving them an A, whenever I give anybody an A+, it's because I basically think that there is not a single thing that they could have done differently or should have done differently. I think you could argue that this team is still either A, a little short on three-point shooting, or B, that they are going to need guys to improve year over year for the three-point shooting to hit. DJ Wagner, Carter Knox, can they maintain the level they were shooting late? And so I do think if I was critiquing, I would say, was there not a guy you could have added from some mid-major that shot 42, maybe not 42, but 40% from three? Was there not some dude from the MAC or the Sun Belt that just wanted to be the ninth guy on this team? That would be my only criticism. I also think it's probably a little bit unfair given that, again, I think some of those guys improved year over year, DJ Wagner, Carter Knox, etc. And then also I would add this as well. You have 4 or 5 guys that can beat their man, get to the rim pretty much anytime they want, whether it be DJ Wagner, Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, Carter Knox, Billy Richard. So college hoops offseason grade, I give Arkansas an A-, and all I got to say is this. Big Pig Invasion is coming to college hoops next year, baby. I'm so excited about this team. I think they can compete for an SEC. I'm certain they can compete for an SEC title. I've said it consistently, whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Florida, whether it's Kentucky. Those 3 to me are the clear top 3 in the SEC. Cannot wait for the season ahead. And again, we'll keep you updated on the schedule stuff and more. That is your college hoops offseason grade Arkansas. By the way, you can get the t-shirt at AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise.